couple of minutes, Martin. Can you hear me? I'm Jamie.
No worries, no worries.
Sorry, this is the first session of the morning and things are running late. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll start. Are you ready, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll. Hi, everyone. This is Martin Adler from Switzerland, but he's actually in Greece at the moment. And Martin is an economist who was supporting the Vollgeld Initiative. And he was on television and radio debating the merits of the Vollgeld Initiative, and he basically won the debates in the media, but that still wasn't enough. And also, he's going to talk about people's behaviour in voting in this presentation. And well, it's going to be very interesting and sobering for us to hear, I think. So please welcome Martin to our conference. And over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, everybody. Hello from Greece. When it comes to flipping through my slides, should it just let you know when you should click and then the next image comes, or how am I going to do that?
I think if you want to show slides, you have to share them with us.
Oh, I sent them to you, okay.
Never mind.
You can share a screen.
So you have them up on your screen.
Actually, it's kind of difficult.
He might not.
But I'm not sure we can.
I wouldn't actually know what to do that.
I'll try and get it on my computer.
How will that? I mean, it's
Maybe,
simple.
Jamie, you can switch it on what I sent you right prior to this, and we can get something to show, so it's easier to follow.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Do you have them up on your computer? Do you have them up on your computer?
I have them with me, yeah. So I can upload it from here, and I just can say click, and then you do one click, and then, go on.
But it would be easier, I think, if you used your share screen option on the bottom of the Zoom
When you have the
site.
slide
If you
up.
put your cursor down there, there's a green button that says share.
Yeah.
And if you have the slides open on your computer, there you go.
Great, yeah, I'm just doing it right now. I hope you can see it now. Is it coming
Yes.
up?
Yep. It will.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Minor victories.
Casey, I'm constantly learning. I can tell you, I've been learning a lot in the last 3 years. Initially, I just got to this subject by coincidence, I must say. I was involved in a discussion on a blog with economists and learned about that and replied some statements and put some questions up, and then somehow people from Vollgeld, so Sovereign Money Switzerland, they hooked up with me, wanted to know who I am, and so I got involved with them. So we never had a late stage, so they were already trying to collect signatures, but one after the other. So you see here is basically the core group of everybody involved, that is the core team, you could call it, and the supporters in the closest circle. We've got a website that is very extensive. Most of it, the strongest part is in German, but you have also an English part, which is here, and that might give you an idea how we have set it up. We have had very little money, and a big goal. That was the voting day, June 10th this year. And the road to that voting day, that is what I'm going to talk about right now. Obviously, you need, when you have such an undertaking, there is a kind of team building phase in which you want to know who's going to do what. I'm going to talk about this. Then I'm going to talk about how it went to collect all these signatures, which were needed to actually bring that proposal to vote. And then I'm going to talk about how difficult it was for us to create awareness in the general public about what we want and what it is all about, because that is, very difficult for many people to understand. I'm going to talk about the parliamentary process that has been involved. I was there at the forefront, was going in and out of the House of Parliament, talking to a lot of MPs, and put a lot of effort in with no result. And then the campaigning phase as such, how do you campaign when you have a very limited budget, not enough money and not enough in terms of people, and non-standing organization that has done that before. Okay, these 5 topics. First, the team building. The whole idea was developed in an association called MOMO. MOMO stands for Monetary Modernization, and not by coincidence is also the protagonist of one of Nika and books. That's a group of about 300 people. Many of those are not active at all. They're just paying their membership fee, then you show up, you don't know who they are, they're just showing some sympathy. Out of us, also from other parts, we have been formed an initiative committee that is formally the ones who bring it up and will push it through the process and eventually stand up here when it comes to the voting day. After that, we have to form a campaign team. I was one of these 15 members in that. And the campaign team and the whole idea also was supported by a scientific council, 21 members that have very internationally based economists, well-known people. One of them, you might know, is Steve Salema, the former president of the AMI. Finally, when it came to really getting it going, we needed volunteers. We got no money to pay people for anything. Okay? So we need supporting volunteers. We managed to get about 200 altogether, which proved to be very limited in terms of resources. Next step, collecting these signatures. It required 100,000 signatures of people who have the right to vote in Switzerland. And this is a difficult thing. People are very used to go to the ballots. They're absolutely doing that, or should be doing it, let's put it that way. 3 or 4 times a year, different things come up, and people are asked to come up and, give their opinion about it on a voting. And this is so routine for many that the participation is rather low. And we noticed that also in our thing that will come up with that later. Difficult in this case is that it's not a simple topic what people usually are used to talk about. Often they vote about simple things like should there be an abolishment of all nuclear power plants, for example. You make up your mind and say yes or no, that's it. Or should we change the retirement age? A straightforward, simple thing. This topic is all but simple for many people. So we have to first discuss with the people in the street and tell them what's all about. And the further difficulty is that there was no urgency felt the whole issue. We all said, well, we have had that before, so why not keep it going, what we know? There's no obvious personal benefit to anyone when they are supporting that idea. And we're questioning fundamental beliefs because most people think it is already in the way we were proposing it, namely that only the Swiss National Bank is issuing all sorts of the Swiss franc. So that proved to be very difficult, but guess what? We managed. And this is a picture showing us handing in all the signatures, all the 100,000 signatures for approval in the Parliament building by the Federal Administration. Creating awareness came down, that was the next phase, and when it came to that, we first, of course, tried to go into the media. We just noticed that nobody wanted to hear about it. Most papers within Switzerland found that not really a sexy topic, wouldn't even write about it. Most journalists didn't understand. And we got a better coverage and more positive review in the international media, notably Financial Times, where Chief Economist Martin Wolf was a strong supporter of our idea, and also made sure that every now and then such articles were showing up in the Financial Times. So it's very nice, great, but not really a newspaper that forms the opinion in Switzerland. So often we would find that eventually some journalists would write about it, or even worse, the opponents to our idea would write an article and just introduce the idea and say why it's bad at the same time. So we had the difficulty to go to the editor of the newspaper and tell them, look, don't you want to maybe also publish our opinion? And sometimes we were allowed to do that, sometimes we just let at the level of letters to the editor where we would have a reply in it. So it's very difficult to get an even standing in the whole discussion at all. What proved to be interesting is the comment function in many newspapers which you find electronically. The discussion went on, and then you could really see that people who were interested in it actually were giving it a thought, and the discussion arose. That was interesting to see. However, this is a marginal small amount of all voters at all. We also tried to go to the media and radio, no chance to do that before it really was close to ballot day. Then we had a certain coverage. I was also in there. And as you heard before, we have been given the credit to have won the debate, and yet eventually we lost the vote. We also were quite active in social media. That was as good as we could do. Reached a lot of people there. It tended to be only the ones who were already open and intensely in draw that out to somebody who has never heard about it and make these people kind of create their awareness that they should vote. We did some activities in the street, so that was very well liked by journalists. They could, have a picture taken and bring that into the newspaper, so that proved to be quite interesting. We were very up to date. This shows a scandal of well-known bankers, but we were taking a look at them. So these kind of things found their way in the media, but it was not really in the scale of opinion forming. What really made the difference is talking to the people in the street. So we got this piggy bank, this inflatable piggy bank, this giant piggy bank as a symbol, and we toured around the whole of the country and had a stand, talked to people, and create awareness there. And there it felt that many people from the street found that's quite a good thing and were positively supporting it. So we were optimistic in that phase. Then came the parliamentary process. I was very much involved in that. That, of course, first contained some hearings, which we had in the committees. And I just learned that those who are in these special committees, in the finance committees, should have done homework and be prepared about what it is about. They didn't know anything. They had no clue. So it was quite frustrating to bring up our proposal there. First of all, we had over 7 minutes to present it, and secondly, they had no idea, they just knew they were against it. It was really hilarious to hear their questions and trying to be polite when answering them. They just showed they had absolutely no clue. And those were members of the parliament in that particular committee who deals with these financial issues. Just that you know what you can expect from our representatives. They turned it down, and so of course also in the debate in both chambers, Senate and House, it was greatly turned down. We had very little support. Also notable that no party did give us, no political party did give us their support, or at least none which is represented in the parliament. So we had it kind of the establishment against us. and then we started the campaigning that was mainly in the streets, of course, creating awareness, talking to people again. You know, we kept that whole thing going for at least 1.5 years with the pig through ravaged the country. When it came close to voting day, we set up billboards, but as you can see, it is done in an amateur way, and we didn't have the money to really go for big billboarding all over the country. We tried to involve the media as much as we did before, and now, coming close to the voting day, of course, we got certain coverage. I got to understand that some journalists finally were a little bit more open to the issue, but at the end of the day, discussion we had also in the radio and TV debate was at a very low level. I was directly debating against the Swiss Minister of Finance, and it was clearly shown that no bloody hell of a clue what it is all about. So then voting day, June 10, and guess what happened? The outcome was that we won 1/4 of the votes, rather than we have to say that the participation was very low. Only 1/3 of all people had the right to vote. Now, understood that there was no urgency about, no importance or breakdown. The interesting part comes now. After the poll, I representative poll, I specialize in this, and this is the result of what came out. 60% of all voters believe the Swiss National Bank should issue the Swiss franc. Would issue the Swiss franc. That's what their belief was. And 80% wanted to be so, whereas only 10% want that the commercial bank be the ones, which is the case today for 90% of the circulating money, which is it is 2020. Finally, we could see that 6 months ago we had a similar representative poll, and there it showed that 75% wanted them to be issued the Swiss franc. So this is really within the range of uncertainty. So it shows we couldn't really fundamentally change the opinion of the people. What we have to understand here is a strange, strong contradiction between the belief of people find is right and should be done and what they actually voted for. Because the question we came up with was very clearly who should issue the Swiss franc. The National Bank or private banks. That was very clear, and in this poll it shows very strong, clear support for that idea, and yet people were not daring to vote for it because the government, the parliament, strongly suggested that they vote no, and simply they wouldn't understand it. They thought it's wise to follow what the government is saying. So, what did we learn in all this? The topic is not suited for a public or parliamentary vote because it requires a lot of work to be done, a lot of in-depth analysis and understanding of the topic, and hardly anyone, not even the elected MPs, are ready to do so. A correct and a logical argumentation cannot change a wrong belief. We had all the arguments logically on our side, but still people were not ready to just let go of their beliefs, which was often wrong. Changing beliefs is a cumbersome and a very slow process, so within like 2 years or so, we cannot do that in a greater scale. Finally, I would say we didn't have support from people that were known, so no institutions, no public known figure was there to support our idea, and funny enough, we had a strong opposition from the
he's going to say the head of the Swiss National Bank.
Swiss National Bank against us. So he was.
Everybody stop using your phones.
Foreigner
Don't download anything.
this system to let people could expect that insight will go through and eventually change things. So it must be coming from even a more insight part of the establishment. I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, we'll walk around the mic.
Just to start one question first, in your conclusion, what do you mean by within the system?
I mean the system, the established system of behind the scenes. There is a system of commercial banks, and the commercial banks, that's now in my opinion, are guiding the Swiss National Bank or the official issuer of the currency, because today the central banks have to believe that they are the bank of the banks, and at the same time the attorney of the bank, the representative of the bank, representing their interests, bailing them out when needed. So that's the common understanding of the central bank's role. And if you have that, it's clear that the commercial banks have to say. And that is what I say is a system that is linked with, of course, political institutions, where you clearly can see that you are risking sometimes your career if you step too far away from the mainstream.
Before we move to other questions, you could stop sharing if you don't need to reference the PowerPoints anymore, and then we might have a better picture of you.
Okay.
You have to do it via Zoom.
Yeah,
you say stop
I
share.
have some problems here.
Do you?
Upper right hand
Here you go.
Yeah, upper right hand corner.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Got it. Okay.
Click the little minus sign.
Shall I go? Okay. Two questions. One is, I know that the official position of your Swiss National Bank was not in support of this effort. How did you deal with that? And the other is, what kind of ratio, considering the fact that you have limited resources, how much attention did you pay to swaying the public versus swaying the politicians and parliamentarians? Was there more emphasis on?
Can you repeat the first question again?
Yeah,
I didn't hear that.
sure. The first question was, I believe the Swiss National Bank did not support this effort. They didn't think it was a good idea, and so how did you deal with that?
Okay.
How much resource was used to persuade
Right to
them?
that one, how we dealt with that, we tried in every occasion we could mention that, say that we're posing that they're in the forefront of the other side of the campaign. I made it a fundamental question in the form that I say it's not up to the Swiss National Bank to have any opinion at all. It's us, the people and voters of that country, who will tell the Swiss National Bank what their role is, and they have to assume it one way or the other. They have not to be forming the opinion of what they have to do in the future. And I personally went to the General Assembly of the Swiss National Bank and strongly challenged Thomas Jordan, who was Catholic. That was not really well liked, but he provoked it. So that's the way we kind of could have been create awareness that there's another opinion. We also stated that every occasion when we're in the media, TV or radio, questioned the Swiss National Bank's role, But generally, there was no urgency felt that this is a fundamental question that has to be addressed, that an institution like the S&P would try to form their own mandate. The second question was how
Maybe, let me rephrase it.
how we were focusing. Sorry?
Let me rephrase the second question just to make it clear. So in the United States, we don't have a people's referendum as you do in Switzerland. And I'm just wondering, what would you recommend in terms of how much resource is used to persuade the public and how much resource is used to persuade legislators in our situation in the United States?
Well, look, to be honest, we were practically sure that we wouldn't make it because traditionally only 10% of all initiatives coming out from the people are accepted by the voters, and 90% are turned down. And when you look at those who are being accepted, then it is always something that is a very clear, concrete question, and a certain feeling of urgency, a certain feeling of being outraged as well for certain people. So that is giving the cocktail to make it pass, maybe. All of that was lacking in our initiative. So what we can say is we knew this was the only way we could sort of bring that proposal out of the closed circle of the economists and bring it to a general public level. I understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. Great things always take several attempts to finally succeed. And I see it in that framework. So this was the first step. And more will follow, and maybe it takes 2 generations. Unfortunately, to be honest, but that's a bit how I see it. So the institutions as such, they are the ones who think that people shouldn't come up with their own ideas. But it's up to the parliament and the government to actually lead the country where it should go. And it's never liked when the people come up with their own ideas and want to get something through. So we are very, very clear that in that opinion that we will never be able to win the support of the political system for such a proposal, because none of all the initiatives ever, brought forward that support. So,
Great, thank you.
did I get to the point?
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, this is Sue. In your initiative going out and talking to the public, what personal issues did you focus on to try to draw the public in?
Do you have to say it again? There's a lot of
Speak
wall
louder.
effect.
Why don't you come up to the
computer.
Microphone.
You have your
Can
mic
you
off.
say it again?
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
Hi.
yeah.
In,
Speak louder.
Yeah, now I hear
louder.
Okay.
Great.
in the personal going out to speak to the public, what issues specifically did you talk to the public about to try to draw them into why the money was so important?
It really depends what kind of person you've got in front of you. So in a one-to-one talk, you have to quickly find out where that person stands and start from there. So some people are concerned about their savings, how safe are they in a new crash, potentially new crash to come. That was, safety an aspect some people were concerned. Others more saw it from a justice point of view. It's not just that some participants in the economy know that the commercial banks can actually make the money they use for their own commercial activities. They found for an justice system, and every other company is not a commercial bank. You know, they first have to provide some source for their funds, organize their money before they actually can use it for their business purposes. So this is a very strong injustice that built in. I mean, just imagine a bank can go and buy shares with money they make just in this very moment. They buy the shares, whereas everybody else cannot do that. But all this, you know, didn't seem to outrage too many people. Some, yes, but not.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Go talk into the. No, I'm gonna do
I'll
it this way,
relay
so
it.
you can hear the question, and then Jamie will relay it.
my question has to do with your statement that you need the support of publicly known persons. And my question has to do with how do you achieve that, and what is the role of the academic community in influencing opinion among leaders?
Yeah, very good question. Being an economist myself, I've been debating against well-known economists, and I found a remarkable low level of understanding the mere mechanics. So what often was confused, even with among professors who had a focus in their research activity of monetary systems, they couldn't really clearly make a difference between sovereign money and 100% money. It's not the same. And I would understand if you're a professor of finance or banking focused on monetary system, you should be able to explain that in a few minutes. They cannot even make a difference. They write papers where they mix that up. So the level, the understanding of the topic in the academic world is very poor at the time. I personally have been talking to professors and trying to explain to them on basis, and they have difficulties to grasp it. So what we found is that when you go through your career, you're at some point following dogmas, and doing that grants you a great career and respect in the public and the position in the society and everything. So do you want to risk that and step aside, even if you think it will make sense? Not many are prepared to do so. Most of the academic world, they're here for their own personal benefit. You know, they write the paper and try to get access or, you know, get quoted in journals, write articles in well-known journals, and they pride themselves with the amount of articles that have been published in journals, which they wrote. That's about where they stand. This is the academic world of today. It's not that they're really open-minded research. It's about only getting awareness and getting these credentials. That's sad to say, but that's my experience I made.
Thank you, I think.
Very good.
Could you
I'm
just,
very disappointed, I must say, from the academic world as well.
could you just follow up with fields other than economics? What is the role, if any, for academics
Sociology.
outside of economics?
Political.
And have there been others, sociologists, people in the environmental
science.
field, people in education, people in history, anthropology?
Good question.
It really depends. Of course, we have support from all kinds of people with a different background, and we had a tendency.
Jamie, take off your own video with
You've frozen for us.
Maybe we can reduce the picture to give more Wi-Fi strength, like you can take it on video yourself.
Really fully understand and explain it. You know, many of those were positive, supportive. They were very soon not able to go in depth in a discussion, and that doesn't really help very much.
While we're waiting for the next question, Martin, I met with Michael Dara in Zurich in July.
Let me roll. I would have start. Okay.
Oh,
We're catching up.
okay. Yeah, I spoke with Michael Dara in Zurich in July, and this is Jamie Walton, and he said that the Vollgeld Initiative or Money Modernisation are taking a case to the Constitutional Court that the Swiss National Bank went outside their remit by advising voters to vote against the proposal that would put them in charge. And so, could you just speak a little bit about that while we're waiting for another question?
Yeah. When you get the documentation for the vote, you get the little booklet where the whole case is presented and where the government then presents its opinion, and the other side can also have a page or two to present their position. Traditionally, this is an unfair thing because the government takes much more space in that than those opposing the government's position. So that was the case here too. We had one single page the government had sent. And in the government's proposal or arguing, they were fundamentally in front of the court. You know, the court actually was Michael Dara, who was in the forefront of that. And we were hoping that the court would come to some kind of a finding before the vote itself. Guess what? To this day, we have no verdict yet. So we see even that the justice system is part of the establishment. The establishment don't want anyone blocking their vote.
Thank you. Interesting.
Hi, this is Jerry. I was wondering what other activist groups you might have been able to get on board with your effort?
What other activist groups did you manage to get on board with the movement for the Vollgeld Initiative?
Quite many. You know, we try to go fishing a bit in the NGO world. A lot of environmentalists were in favor of it. People who found we should make our society a more just one. That is what we got, but a lot of that support was just verbal, you know. When they came to providing actually staff, people to help us, or funds, there was not really much coming. You know, it was showing some sympathy that we're bringing up the right question, that's the right just pose or cost, but really involvement in form of teaming up, bringing resources in, we didn't see that.
Okay, any other questions?
Hi, this is Howard, and with such a big disparity between the referendum with regard to people who believe in monetary reform and not, is it possible that the referendum is inaccurate or even fixed?
Did you hear that?
The voting.
No, the referendum in effort.
Because of the difference between what people wanted in the polls and then the way they voted, do you think that the referendum process is fixed was the word, but rigged might be a word you might understand.
Purposefully inaccurate.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it that way, you know. The referendum process is a standard process, and it works well for simple questions. Do you want to pay a contribution, a mandatory contribution fee to the Swiss TV stations or not? You know, things like this. People who can make up their mind, have the discussions why not why you should adopt it. But for these kind of questions, which are 99% of the case, it works fine. But for a question where you first have to create awareness to everybody, look guys, what you think, it's not that way. But we are proposing that we're changing something so it becomes the way you think it is already. And this is a double somersault. That's a very difficult thing, you know, to get across, and it takes so much more time. It's too much verbose.
Yeah. Okay, another question?
I'm Stephen. Could this initiative come up again in Switzerland, or do you think we should be looking for other countries to take the next steps, and the Swiss can learn from other countries in terms of then eventually moving the Swiss forward too?
Yeah, we always have heard, and I'm kind of the same opinion, that the Swiss political system is ideal to bring a cause through against the will of the government and the parliament. Because if it would have gained the majority, the Swiss constitution would have been amended accordingly, and the institutions couldn't have done anything against it. So, not many countries have such a political system. Now, with my experience in the parliamentary process, I find it's very difficult, or even more difficult, to find MPs or majority of a parliament who's supporting that policy. We were very close in Iceland a few years ago, and not the case in Iceland, and then it was put on hold when the government changed, and ever since that whole thing ended in the drawer. So it has to do with the right timing, with a crisis situation that people would like to, you know, go propose. They think they feel not comfortable with. This is just how it is. So we have to turn it around and give it a lot of time. We start now with the idea of changing the education in a way that awareness is created already at university level, how the system works and how who is benefiting and what the advantages of card is. Being executed, being done, could be changes to start with. Common understanding for a standard economist that the way things work today, it's not the best.
Any more questions? One at the back there. Oh, one there.
We're never gonna get any.
I want to really thank you for your presentation. This has been very helpful. I do have another question, and the question has to do with your comment that the parliamentarian response, they couldn't see any difference between sovereign money and 100% reserve. Could you say more about that?
I noticed it on different levels. You know, people were quick, those that were digging in to find the roots of 100% money in the 1930s in the United States. And thought we were just be coming up with the same thing. It has to do with the ability of many to abolish the banks, create money by the time they issue a credit. They need to cut that, you know, and many cannot do that cut in their mind. You need a cut which today it's a dogma that money is debt, period, right? Money is debt. And when you say that, you're an academic already. And you abolish that thinking. You have to say money doesn't have to be a debt. It can be an asset you pass around. And, you know, based on common belief and common acceptance, which it is in fact, right? Anyway, so that's the first step. But, yeah, I find it's very difficult to get only the awareness in the academic world, and then even more that they would listen to us, what we have to say. So I've been in numerous debates where I just would say, sorry, what you're talking, that's not what we're proposing, it's got nothing to do with sovereign money. And then it's very difficult, right? But they prefer.
Sorry, you're breaking up, Martin. We'll get another question in a minute.
You might try killing his
Yeah,
video.
yeah.
Kill the video to get the audio. Kill the video to get the audio.
He'll hear you, Jamie, you can talk.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Martin, you're breaking up now. Looks like the session's
I
over.
hear that.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can't hear me?
I can hear you well, yeah, but when somebody talks in the hall, it's practically impossible to really hear and understand.
Increase the bandwidth.
Okay.
Okay.
Just on the well, we've had a similar experience with publishing a paper in an economic journal, and 6 economists were asked to review it. It was about our legislation, the Need Act, and all of them said that it was 100% reserves. They just assumed that it was. They obviously didn't read what we'd written at all. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. So now, Sue, do you think?
Yes, I have a question. I don't remember the Swiss political parties, but are there any grassroots political parties in Switzerland that would be an entry for this kind of information into the public?
What was that? Could you repeat it, Sue?
I don't remember the Swiss political parties and the political system.
Yeah.
But would there be any grassroots political parties in your country that would be an entry point for this kind of information to get out?
Are there any grassroots political parties in Switzerland that might be an entry point to get this legislation in? My conversation with Michael Derry, he said that the Green Party in Switzerland, oh, looks like it's gone. Okay, the Green Party in Switzerland allowed their members a free vote, but all the other parties basically told their members to vote against the referendum. Looks like that's the end of it, folks. So thanks.
You may still be there.
What? That's the end of it.
Really?
He just came back here.
Oh, you just came back.
On any grassroots organization that would support the sovereign money idea, is that your question?
Yes.
Ask it again.
What was the question?
Sue, give your question again. What was your
It
question?
can be going, and that would be today's world where you have economists. So we need to keep, if you have people in banks who understand that this is not a just case, how it is today. And to be honest, we have had bankers in our ranks who were fighting for sovereign money. That does exist. Also investment bankers. So there are people who are ready to form their own independent opinion, but it's still a very small minority, but that may be the way to go.
Small bankers.
Yeah.
Small bankers, yes. Yes, we would advise that.
You
Yeah.
know, and then people in national, in central banks, I've been talking to staff in the Swiss National Bank who are supporting the idea because they say, well, this is the traditional role of a central bank in the ID and in the thinking of the currency schools.
Yeah. Okay. Martin, can you hear me now?
Of the,
Yeah.
as opposed to banking school. So they were not, they couldn't say, yeah, I can hear you. So they were not led to express their opinion.
Yeah.
Same as here.
Do you think Switzerland is becoming a centre for cryptocurrencies? Do you think the idea of cryptocurrencies being an asset that's passed from person to person might be something that breaks the deadlock in people's psychology and minds? Okay. Sorry, Martin, it's... Oh.
So there was no debate in the central bank about it. Was talked with, yeah, okay. Well, no debate in the central bank.
He may want your question.
I,
What about digital currency again? You may give it again.
Digital, crypto.
okay, you answer.
We have to go now, Martin. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you.
All right. All right, well that was, I let that run on. I mean, we started late, but we're going to start on time tomorrow. And because we've got another Zoom first thing, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I want everyone to be here, and I want, everyone that needs to be here to get it up and running. And yeah, the Vollgeld Initiative, I wanted to spend a lot of time on that because what Joe's going to be talking about later is a lot of resonance with that. And what? You asking me a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask him a question, but it's just that, but if we have to move on.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Let's move on.
Okay. So now we're going to hear from Manuel Klein.